right. So, welcome to 5 Tools to Create an Awesome Life. I am your hostess with the mostest, Kirsten Bonanza. I'm a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness and super excited to get a chance to be with you guys this evening. Or, yeah, it's evening. It's evening everywhere where people were invited, unless somebody managed to hop on from somewhere else. Please feel free to use the chat. I thought this was set up so I could see you all, and it wasn't. So, yay! What else is possible? Great tool there. That's not one of the 5. I actually may have turned the 5 into 6, but shh, don't tell anybody. Bonus tools. Yeah, total bonus tools. So, if we want to go into the facilitation, or if we want to go into questions, we can. We'll just have to use the chat, basically, is what that means. So I started thinking about this and I was like, I really enjoy sharing the tools with people. For me, I came to Access, oh man, I can't remember when exactly it was at this point. It was like 2014, 2015-ish. And someone I was talking to at another event, there was like a shaman around and he was talking about using an altar for healing. And someone's like, well, why are you here? And I'm like, well, there's this thing called 9/11 and it really screwed my life up and I'm traumatized. And that point, it was like 13 years beyond the event, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like something's got to change. And the woman turned to me and she said, there's this thing called Access Bars and I think you dig it. That was it. I think you dig it. I think you might think this thing's cool. I was like, okay, cool. I'll go check it out. So I did. I went home and I looked it up and I was like, yeah, I totally dig this. I was like, I don't want a session. I want to learn how to do it. Like, if this thing is as cool as it seems, I'm in. So I knew, though, for some reason, it was like the money wasn't a problem at the time. It was just like not what I was ready to choose. So I shelved it until probably about 4 or 5 years later when I woke up and I did what, some of the things we actually suggest. I woke up that day and I was like, I wonder what fun I can create today. What would be fun for me to do? Because I was on vacation. And bing, like a light bulb, popped into my head, take a bars class. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't thought of that thing since that person told me about it. It's been, I don't even know how long. So I was like, let me go check and see what's going on. First thing was the price had gone up since the first time I checked. But what it turned out, there was actually a class within 10 minutes from where I was in that moment that had started about 10 minutes before. So I was like, it's a little bit late now, but I was able to get to a bars class the very next weekend. And it was facilitated by a certified facilitator. He was like, I don't know what that is. And she's talking about this thing called the foundation. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, but you could feel the energy of it. I was like, I get that that's the thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take that foundation thing and one day I'm going to facilitate it. Now, I had no idea at that moment that it would come a lot faster than I thought. That was back in 2019. Became a CF in 2022, last spring. Yeah, it's been a year and a half, basically. So just like complete whirlwind of life as it unfolds, oftentimes when you start getting your bars read more often and, get to this point of my life is completely different than it was before. And it's so much more awesome. I want to share these tools with the whole world. I got to share these tools with everyone because I want everybody to have an awesome life. I want everybody to be happy. And what just keeps happening is that I keep finding more happy as possible. And I find that even more happy as possible and even more greatness. And it's like, this isn't ever going to stop. I'm going to truly continue to find more joy. And that's the mantra is that all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And when you really think about it and you think about like what kind of world you want to create, and even just having those 3 things as your guideposts and that's not even one of the tools I want to talk about today. That's just like, is what's coming to me, what could make it more ease? What could bring me more joy? And how could I have more glory in it? And glory is the exuberant abundance and kind of that, exuberant expression of abundance. It's kind of that like when when you feel like it's raining gold. That's the only way I can think of saying it in the moment. Um, but I guess what I thought was awesome at the time when I first started working with the bars and when I first started working with the tools of access is probably different than what I think is awesome now. And that's okay. You know, we do talk a lot about living in 10-second increments. Shoot, still not a tool that I was planning on talking about, but we're just going to throw some bonus tools in here. And I'm sure you've heard of them, but when you start to think about them in their practical application of like what you actually do with this thing that we're talking about, then you can actually start to create your world more and more. So 10-second increments means that, you know, right now I might want a glass of wine, and in 10 seconds, I might actually not want a glass of wine. I may want chocolate. I mean, I always kind of want chocolate. 10 seconds doesn't seem to change that. So I guess what I want to start with is just to ask you to reflect on, what do you think is awesome? Like right now for you, what's something that would fall into that awesome category? Feel free to use the chat, drop it in there. I'm just curious, you know, like what in your creation, and sometimes you can call this like your wow, like what's the thing that makes your world go wow? And nature, oh, Annette, I know that. I know that for sure. Nature is just so beautiful and expansive and inviting. I think that's probably one of the things I'm really going to look forward to about being up there. So awesome being full of awe, being full of that like and that is also kind of like the glory, right? It's that exuberant expression of abundance, that thing that we can invite into our world and into our lives. I think of it also like the juicy hedonism, you know, that like if I was really giving myself everything I wanted in this moment, what would I let myself have? What would I let myself have? I might let myself have a bath. Not everybody likes baths. I'm cool with that, but my body does. And I might let myself have a bath. I might do a bubble bath and put like candles around. It happens every now and then. But like put a candle out, maybe sit with a glass of wine in the bathtub, maybe and then a nice cup of tea while reading a book. You know, like what is the thing that what culture? I think it's Swedish, but it's hygge, Hygge. I'll pop that in the chat so you can see how it's spelled. Road dripping, awesome. Diving away, bars. Yeah, it's like, what are the things that give you that juicy feeling? And, you know, it's not what we typically put on our awesome list, right? Our awesome list is like, or maybe it's not even the awesome list. What would I call that? The things you want to create in your world. I would like this much money. I would like a house that looks like this. I would have exactly this type of car. So we start to measure it by things that are really defined rather than by allowing that awesome, hopes and dreams, hopes and dreams, hopes and dreams. And getting your bars run a lot while talking about what you want to create is an amazing tool. It'll help you clear out the limitations around that. Shoot, that's another tool. Jeez. I had no idea that this was really going to be the 50 tools. So when you start thinking about what's awesome and when you start thinking about what you can create your life like, what if it were about something else that you never imagined? So you're going to hear me use a clearing statement today. It is right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. It's Dane calls it the magic wand. And the greatest thing to come to clearing and healing since sliced bread. Oh, I don't know. I think he actually says since ever. But the clearing statement, you can learn more about it at theclearingstatement.com. It's also in your bars manual. And it's basically like, I say it's like 9 pages of clearings, questions, and intentions crammed into one nonsensical statement that basically says, I really, really, really mean it. And so every piece that they've added, whether it's the POVADs or the POD and POC, all is some component of the ways we limit ourselves. That's the way I like to describe it, at least. So the clearing statement you'll hear me use today, and I think that's all I'm going to say about that for the moment. So anything that you think you have to do, be, have, create, or generate in order to have an awesome life, are you willing to destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. Everything you think awesome is that it isn't, are you willing to destroy and uncreate that? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. And everything you think awesome isn't that it is, are you willing to destroy and uncreate that? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. And any expectations you have of this, of me, of what should be created or what could be created through either a simple 1-hour freebie or a 3.5-day foundation. Are you willing to destroy and uncreate that? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. Because what we're creating here is something that is filled with limitless possibilities. And that's one of the things I love about it the most, is that when you step into a bar session, when you step into your world and you ask the question, what are the infinite possibilities available for this session? Or what are the infinite possibilities available for me in my body? You unlock a whole nother level that you might not have even realized that you could go to. So everything that doesn't allow that, are you willing to destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all 9 shorts, boys, POVADs, and beyonds. So we have a tendency to think that, there are all these advanced classes, you must get the good stuff then. But the reality I've got to tell you is that I get the tools that I use on a daily basis, and I do actually use them on a daily basis. I get those from the bars class and the foundation class. And I still take bars classes. I just did the global bars class with Dane. It was fantastic. And I did the global bars class with Brendan Watt a couple years back. And, I'm always kind of looking out and seeing, what would it take for me to have another experience like that? Because it's like going to a spa day. You get to like relax and enjoy it. And even when you know it, the processes, it can be kind of nice to have that time for yourself. So get yourself to a swap, get yourself to a class, whatever it takes. It doesn't have to be mine. Enjoy receiving the bars. Enjoy letting your body receive the bars. But we're going to go first into what started me on this path, right? When I said that I woke up that day and I had the question like Gary did, and talk a little bit about that. So the whole story around this, and forgive me if you've heard it, but it's important because of what it illustrates, right? Like, so Gary had these amazing abilities that he knew he could change the world with. And he started to try to invite that interaction with other people. And they wanted to know what color to paint their walls. It's not what he was looking to create. So he asked a question. What would I like my life to be like? If your life is currently not the way you'd like it to be, what would you like it to be like? And we talked about this a little bit in the chat already. It's like the nature, the bars, diving waves, road tripping, taking a bath. All of those things are like having the time to do that, having the time to find joy in that and to be in it. That's creating your awesome life. That's finding that. So what would you like your life to be like? And so we're going to do a little bit of an energy pull, because the way that you start this is by recognizing what your life could be like. And when I say be, I mean the sensations in your body. What does it feel like? I mean the the expansiveness that you notice, all of those things. So we're going to do a little energy pull, and we're going to talk about following the energy. That's actually number one. I know we're like 20 minutes in, and I'm talking about tool number one after talking about 5 other tools. But hey, that's the fun of this, right? You got to follow the energy. Oh, see what I did there? Oh yeah, and anything that doesn't allow you to laugh at everything I say, just trying to create that right and wrong, good and bad, pun, puck, all my insurance boys, that's CBS, because I am so funny, at least to me. All right, so take a minute, close your eyes. Hopefully you can still hear me with your eyes closed. And I want you to come into yourself and to just notice you. And I want to ask you, if you made choices every day that would create greater for you and for the world, for the earth, what would your life be like in 5 years? Notice that energy. Notice the quality of that energy. Notice the expansiveness. And if you made those same choices to create greater with every decision you made, what would your money flows be like in 5 years? So really feel deeply into that beautiful energy, because this is your barometer. If you're going to make a choice from now on and it doesn't match this, whether you notice a tickling, a lightness, and expansiveness, light doesn't always feel exactly the same for everybody. And something can be kind of expansive, but not match exactly where you are capable of going. You can still choose other things, but if you know this is what's possible to get to, what could happen if you actually chose what matched that energy? So now reach into the corners of the universe. Reach through everything you thought you knew existed into the beyond, beyond the beyond. I want you to pull energy through the universe of everything and everyone that would support you having this awesome life. And let it flood your body. Let it overfill your body and pour into the earth, because we're always connected to the earth. And just notice that feeling of fullness. You have everything you need. You have all the support you require. Just continuing to choose. And so we're going to let ourselves just in the background, let this energy continue to flow into and through you while we're going through the other tools and while we're talking about things. So fundamentally, that's what an energy pull is. You just ask to pull energy. There's no special on switch or off switch. And if it feels like it lightens up, you can just ask yourself to pull more energy. Sometimes when I really want to pull energy hard, I'll think, pull it like Niagara Falls, you know? You pull it like the strength and fortitude of Denali, you know, like just imagining that, like that majesty, that thing that can draw that attention. It's almost like the being iconic, you know, And that's actually what I think of Alaska. It's like this big, beautiful, open, natural space. And it is just expanded. So what would it take for us to tap into that and to ask Alaska or wherever else you are in the world to contribute to you with that kind of energy as well? So now not only are you pulling into you and through you the expansiveness that it's possible for you to create as you continue to choose to create greater in your life, you are also, apparently we're doing SOP now. We are also pulling in that iconic nature and that iconic natural space that you can't get away from when you go into the woods or when you go out onto the water. That is truly awesome. And so what would it take to have ease with being that every day of your life? And truly having more of you, more of you, and more of you every time you ask a question. Because we've heard asking a question creates, but what if it actually does? What would I like my life to be like? If I were really giving myself everything my body required, what would I let myself have that I haven't been letting myself have? So I'm going to say this to you, and I want you each to kind of ask yourself, what would you let yourself have if you were letting yourself have everything your body requires so that it can thrive and so that it can thrive in and with nature? What is the essential connection that you haven't acknowledged to this awesome state of life and living? Anything that doesn't allow that, are you willing to destroy and create it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pun and pock, all nine shirts, voice, pill, vibes, and beyonds. This weird thing I'm doing with my hands is just part of SOP, and I'm not controlling it. It's just a thing that happens. They move with the energies. So allow yourself to expand your allowance and let it in. You can drop your barriers. I realize that every time you receive, you're also gifting. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being you and showing up in the beauty that you are. So that's what happens when we start moving the energy, is that the things come up that are required. We talked a little bit about this second tool, the light and heavy. Once you know the energy, once you have awareness of that open, expansive, beautiful space that you can be and that you are, that you be, that you truly be. You didn't tap into something that you're not already. You tapped into something that you are. You be that. Now, when you ask, what will this create in my life if I choose this? That lightness, it's not just that it's light and expansive. Does it feel like what you know is possible? Because, sometimes you have two choices and they're kind of both light. You recognize like, well, I could choose this or I could choose this, and it's not really going to make a difference. It's kind of like, do you want a baked potato or mashed potatoes? Although right now my body's like, ooh, mashed potatoes sound great. So But sometimes it's just like, actually, it doesn't really matter. My body just wants the potato. That's where I was going before my body told me that mashed potatoes sounded really good, lots of butter. Is that, what if one of those was actually pulling you a little bit stronger and pulling you a little bit stronger in that direction? And I know sometimes when you hear people talk about asking questions about a piece of gum, like, what will this create in your life in 5 years if you choose the big red? You can do it with something as simple as a stick of gum. Because what you're really asking is, am I still in integrity with what I'm choosing? And that's why that choice isn't necessarily a Porsche, because you do evolve with every 10 seconds. So the Porsche that was interesting to you as something you wanted to create in your life at some time may no longer be the thing that creates that energy for you. That doesn't mean you can't have targets, and the target might not include a larger home or a home that had maybe a garage, something like that. It's that, be willing to let yourself evolve and change in order to continue matching that energy that we found that still is you. So we've got our energy pull. That's something that you are totally capable of doing on your own. You can wake up in the morning and do a little bit. You know what? I want to pull more of that energy into my world. You know what else you can do with it? I might have mentioned it, but I'm going to mention it again. Is you can say, who do I know that matches this energy? What can I choose that matches this energy? What kind of physical activity for my body matches this energy? And it can be as simple as like saying horseback riding, rollerblading, skiing, swimming. Which one of those for you popped? And being willing to try something new. One of the cool things about humanoids and being a humanoid, and that's something we talk about a little bit in the foundation, is that we're constantly evolving and growing. And because we're these beautiful infinite beings that do change every 10 seconds, you have the opportunity to then also try something new. I remember having someone say, they're like, well, I do the thing, I master it, and then I'm bored, but I keep doing it because that's what I started doing. So you see people who will, let's say, play soccer, or, always, they're like, they knit, and they're like, well, I'm a knitter, that's the thing I do. It's like when that creation becomes a solidification, it becomes not actually a choice anymore. It's because you've decided it's the thing you do, and that's, you have to continue doing the thing you do. Come back and ask the question, is this still creating for me in the same way? Is this something that I might want to add something else? Maybe not let it go. Maybe continue to knit, maybe continue to play soccer, maybe continue to cook. But is there something else that would add to my world? Because we really need to be busy. We need to be so much busier than we are. And maybe busy isn't the right word. We need to have more going on in our life. I find that if I have fewer than 30 classes scheduled, I'm bored and I don't create. If I have 30 classes or more scheduled, I'm having so much fun. And it's a completely different type of creation. You wouldn't think that creating 5 classes versus 30 would actually be, you would think actually 30 might be more challenging. But for me, it's like, it's almost like it turns off the overthinking autopilot. And then I'm like, ooh, I really do start to let it pop in that way. And it doesn't have to be that there are 30 classes specifically, or, Gary and Dane will say, make sure you've got at least 10 things going on in your life. But maybe that's 10 things like swimming, cooking, volunteering. I don't know. What are the things that might be fun for you? And that's part of that, like seeking that awesome life is, have you tried it before? Would it be fun? Like, does it match the energy of what you want to create? Somebody invites you to go do something that you've never thought about before. Like, let's go have that pasta dinner for the fundraiser at the local charity club. And you go, all right, well, is it light or heavy? What would it create if I went to that event? What would it create if I didn't go to that event? If you then choose from there, what if it's the event that brings you joy? What if this food is just amazing? What if you meet someone who can help you further your business? I mean, there's so many different things. Maybe you meet someone who's very fun to hang out with. But the point is that you don't know what the choice is going to create, except the choice is going to create closer to what you know you can create in your life. The next thing I want to talk about is a little bit of 3 and 4. What are 3 and 4, you ask? There are a couple of the numbers. In the foundation, we go up to 21, and it starts with 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, the 3 as a number it's an energy. So what I'm sharing with you right now is not only the number and what it means, but really the energy. And this energy of a 3 is the energy of cuts off the past. You want change? Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Gary's famous story, I don't know if you've ever heard it, is talking to a guy who walks up and is begging at the local gas station. And he's like, please, can I have some change? And Gary, Mr. Wizard is like, oh yeah, you want some change? And the guy's like, yeah, I need some change. And so Gary, I think, hands him a 20 or something like that. He's like, here you go. And with that, kind of delivers that 1, 2, 3. And they said the guy was wobbling and walking away, barely able to stand up, and they never saw him. They never saw him begging again. So what kind of magic can we create when we look at that, and when we look at the gift of just what is the energy of choosing change, and what are the things that you'd like to change for your lives right now? So you can pull something up in your mind if you want, and we can give it a little 1, 2, 3. 4 is the other one we're going to do today. 4 would be the choice for a different future. So you do your 3s, you do a couple 3s, you can do 3, 3, 3. You can flick your fingers. Some people, it's fun. You feel like you're sending the energy, but it's totally not necessary. You don't have to say it out loud even. You can think it in your head, 3. And when you do that, you are just sending that energy out. So, but I like it, so I do it. Some people don't. Sometimes I don't. So, but back to a 4, because I think we got enough 3s. So your 4 is going to create the energy of the future. So once you kind of clear that, you say, I want change, clear out the past, you give it a 4 in order to say, I'm ready to create my future. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I do actually count up the first time. I don't know if it's required. There's not really hard and fast rules with a lot of the tools of access. What we're doing most of the time is we're accessing the energies. And so when you come to a class, when you come to a foundation, when you come to a bars class, we're delivering the knowledge of the energy. And once you have that, you can use it and choose that to create your life. So let's give a little 4 for our future. 1, 2, 3, 4. And also, interesting, we need a little 7 too. I thought we were just going to do those too. So a 7 is the energy of magic. You don't do magic for yourself. You only do magic as a gift to others. And so let's say I just heard that there was a hurricane in Acapulco. Yeah, that's a good one too. But I don't want to go through all the numbers today. So 7 is the energy of magic. 6 is actually related to spinning thoughts. But the energy of magic, and so Acapulco just had a hurricane. So let's send some magic down to Acapulco. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just sending that energy to all of you and to that. And then why don't we give Alaska a little bit of love and juice? So what would it take to have more magic in Alaska and to have the nature, the natural world really be taken care of? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And to that, the 3s and 4s can also be a contribution to the earth as well. Just FYI, you can always give a little bit of that number to the earth herself. So there's plenty more, as I said, that we can talk about, but one of my favorite things is just the simplicity of those numbers. And once you have them in your world and you can start to use them, you'll hear Dane use them sometimes. He does a lot of 5, 9, 11, 14, 19, 20s. You hear people combine 3, 4. You hear people use, there are all sorts of ways that you can use them. But once they're in your world, all you have to do is say, would a 3 be a contribution right now to the situation I'm in? Especially, if it's someone you can't get your hands on and they're not ready to have their bars run or they don't want whatever, you can be like, would one of the numbers help? And you don't necessarily ask them, you ask yourself, and you have to go with your awareness. And all of this, you have to go with your awareness. So let's see. Let me see if I can make this easy because I wanted to pull this up. Our fourth tool, I'm gonna pretend like we've only done like 3 so far, even though we all know we're beyond that. Is actually from the foundation. It's totally one of my favorites, and it is called the generosity of spirit. So I'm going to read you just a little piece of that because it's the generosity of spirit is something that's amazing in creating the world that you want to. It's where you look at everything from a different point of view. It's about what is the gift of generosity can really help you get to being and having a generosity of spirit. So when you have generosity of spirit, you're not making things transactional. It's not like, well, if I give the money to El Lugar, then my income will increase. It's, I really want to give to this project. When you send, it's basically like if you are in the generosity of spirit, it's not about the money or it's not about your time. It's about the ability to gift to others. And then you get to be happy for those people. Another word for that is actually compersion. Let me see if I can spell it correctly. Did that work? Okay. I think I'm spelling it wrong, but it's not giving me an option. So let's hope that's how you spell compersion. Compersion is ultimately also the generosity of spirit. It's the, I see that you have joy and therefore that brings me joy. And sometimes that's not where we're at. But the more joy that you invite into your world, the more that you can also receive that joy. So when you practice generosity of spirit, you really have this ability to invite more money, to invite more of anything. Oh, I'm so glad that person took a day off and took care of themselves. That is great. That's kind of like the generosity of spirit. Like you're happy for them. Oh, they just graduated. Yes, go you. It's really that it's like being in someone's corner. And I love doing this when I see other people post bars classes. I'm like, yes, you go have that bars class because I know it's going to be so much fun for them and everybody's going to be like, So it's a practice for some people. It's not something that we're taught. We're taught to be jealous, or we're taught by this reality that that's like not the way to be. But it's really actually something that does invite the universe to gift you the very same thing that you're happy for the other person to receive. So whether that's a new relationship or money or a house or a job or this or that, you being having joy for what others receive lets you also receive. The last one that I want to go over is actually 2. So some of the things that this is, because so far we've been talking about tools to create, which are like pointing us in that direction, right? Light and heavy, we'll do an energy pull. We're going to follow the energy. We're going to make sure we're using light and heavy. We're going to use some numbers. We're going to be generous of spirit. But we can't really talk about this unless we acknowledge what is in the way and what gets in the way. So the first thing that I want to talk about is real quick, just so that you guys have heard these before, because they're fantastic. And I have to read them off because there are a bunch of them. So give me 1 second to pull that up. Is it not now? Is it later? Yeah, oh, there. Okay, the distractor implants. So these are anger, rage, fury, hate, blame, shame, regret, guilt, addictive, compulsive, obsessive, perverted points of view, love, sex, jealousy, peace, life, living, death, reality, business, doubt, relationship, and fear. And those are basically the ways that we get in the way of ourself from making the choices that we want to make a lot of the times. Because if we were just being the beings that we be, we were able to stay an interesting point of view, shame wouldn't come up. So when it comes up, it's there as a distractor implant. So what do? Pod and pock the distractor implants. So something comes up for you as you're trying to create this awesome life, or your life even more awesome than it already is, and you just say, pod and pock all the distractor implants creating this. Super simple. Actually, one of my favorite clearings of all times is pod and pock, or anything Gary and Dane would say, pod and pock. So, you can always invoke the anything they would say, or anything I would say, anything Kirsten would say to clear this, pod and pocket. It's my favorite clearing because you don't have to remember anything. You just have to remember pod and pock. So those distractor implants, again, that's another thing that we get into in the foundation, and we can really talk about and go into with individual situations. A lot of people have a lot of questions about some of them because it's like, well, how do these things impact? There is actually a book, Living from Distraction, or Living Free from Distraction. It's on the Access site. Of course, I forgot the exact name of it right in this moment. The other thing that I kind of want to spend a little bit of time on, and our final bit here, is the Big Five. I know some people have gotten a chance to hear it on the Great Reset, or on Creative Edge, or with one person or another, but the foundation as it is right now is really very much oriented around taking the Big Five and removing it from your world piece by piece. So a lot of the clearings are around the Big Five. The Big Five are presumptive realities, needs. Hold on, let me just pull that so that you guys can read it while I'm also reading it, if I can find it easily and quickly. Geez, we're still, oh, there we go. All right. So you will hear presumptive realities, the PRs, the needs of reactive realities, the NORs, the needs of reactive response system slime, also called the NOR slime, AI actualizers, and the fifth element. So it's basically like this loop that we get into, and all of this is to keep us in the rat race, right? So this is the zero-sum game. So where we always kind of go back to the beginning, and we never quite get as far as we know that is possible, and for whatever reason you just end up right back at the same spot. That's the zero-sum game. So the presumptive realities are the things that you assume have to be true. They're the definitions that you've made. They are the lies that you've told yourself about how the world works. I mean, sometimes these are so basic and straightforward that you don't even realize it's possible for the world to work different. For example, carrying around money. Is that actually required? The needs of reactive realities, the NORs, are the ways that, have you ever had an argument with someone, an ongoing argument, that you're like, oh, hold on. And then this person's going to say this, and then this person says this, and then this person says this, and then this person does this, and then this person slams the door. That's an example with an argument, but it could be you see the person, the person at the grocery store at the checkout counter. It's probably someone you've seen before. You say, "Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? I'm great. How are your kids? Oh, they're fine. How are your kids?" You have these. It's almost like the scripted conversation of life, where there's not really any choice in there. It doesn't really ever change, and you continue to do the same things over and over. That's the need of reactive realities. When you start to break from the need of reactive realities, people start to get really confused. They don't know why you're changing or what's happening. It's like they're almost like, what's going on? The need of reactive response system slime are the ways that society has built in the needs of reactive realities into it. So the things that are expected, you have to go to school, you have to do this, you have to do that. You've got to have your driver's license. It's like all of that, those checks and balances and all those things. Those are some like tactile examples. There are other ways that this shows up as well. The AI actualizers are the ways that the AI show up. And the fifth element is the need to be the savior. So sorry, the AI actualizers are the things that are designed to get you back to the PR so you can go through the whole cycle again. And being the fifth element, if you're always trying to save and everyone else, then can you ever really be you? So what ends up happening is we have this big five, sometimes as individual pieces and sometimes working as a whole, locking us into place and not allowing us to choose beyond it. Like, have you ever had one of those moments where you're like, you ask a question, you're like, I'm doing the thing, I'm asking the question, I'm gonna figure it out. Asking a question doesn't necessarily figure it out, but that's what I think sometimes. So you're asking your question and you say, okay, what will my life be like in 5 years if I choose this? You get the energy. You're like, okay, what will my life be like in 5 years if I don't? You get the energy. And you're like, okay, what about this option? And you'll get the energy and you're like, those both were the same, but they're opposite things. How is that possible? Pod and POC, all the big five, locking anything into place, right and wrong, good and bad, pod and POC, all night, shirts, boys, balads, and beyonds. So what happens with the big five, and this is why it's a 3.5-day class at this point, and that's why the new body processes are no longer the biomimetic mimicry and some of this other stuff, is because you need different body processes to not only unlock it from your being, but also unlock it from your body. So we do spend a lot of time doing the big five body process and or the PRs and NORs body processes, because not only can you get some clearing from your being, but you can also address the ways in which it gets locked into your world. So yeah, the big five and the distractor implants are really your go-to ways that have been implanted into your being to keep you from being able to have more awesome. So if you ever feel like you're wrong or you're bad or you're doing something wrong, like you can't get it right, or you're like, why am I still in this place, or why haven't I gotten to where I know I can go? Like, I know I can go there. I know anything is possible. Like, actually know anything is possible. What is going on here? Pod and POC the distractor implants, Pod and POC the big five, and come to foundation. So that's really like where I wanted to go. And I wanted to at least give you kind of like some tools to really get started on crafting things, and maybe from a little bit of a different perspective than you've heard before. I think I'm new to pretty much everyone who's here. So yeah, does anyone have any questions? We have a little bit of time left. I didn't realize I was going to talk that much. I normally don't. So cool. I'm glad to see that there was a lot to come out there. So just give you a minute if anybody wants to type anything or ask anything about these. I guess in the meantime, I will just say that again so that it's on the recording for the people who weren't able to make it in person. So upcoming in Alaska next week, I can't believe it's so soon. So next Wednesday, 7 days from now, Elizabeth and I are doing a bars class together. Super excited to co-facilitate. I really enjoy that. It's amazing to get to see how other people do things. And then the following day for the next 4 days, a couple hours each day, obviously, we're going to do the foundation. And yeah, great way to shift the world and change things. And I guess the other was you guys got a little bit of a taste of an SOP session, but what I will do is be looking at a time to do an SOP group taster with you all. And that'll be something that we can do both in person and online. So if people are only able to join online, we can include that as well. So look, I'll send that information out. Yeah, I'm just feeling that openness too. You know, it's just the open expansiveness. Please enjoy it. So let's just pull that energy in just a little bit more. It's been flowing this whole time. The good news is it doesn't have to stop. You can continue to pull this energy, trickle just a little bit out to the people who are going to be part of creating your awesome life. Yeah. And now with this, learning about pulling energy is lovely. You are so welcome, Cheryl. She said, learning about pulling the energy is lovely. It's so simple. It's like one of the most simple things that you can do. And if you don't get it, it's okay. I'm happy to talk you through it or listen again because you will have the recording. You can do it anytime. You can be like, things are weird. I want to be in that energy of awesome that I know. I'm going to just pull that energy of awesome into my world right now. Oh, and then the final tool, how does it get better than this? And on that note, thank you all so much for joining me. And I look forward to potentially seeing you soon. It would be so amazing. We've got to have some fun while I'm up there. All right, all. Take care.